Hi there, Six of Queens here, and learning still sucks. In today's lesson, I'm going to start my focused work on the first page of the Blue Danube Waltz from page 114 of Bastien Piano for Adults. And after I spend about 20 minutes getting that under the fingers a little bit, then I plan to switch over to spending the last 10 minutes working to memorize my arrangement of Angels We Have Heard on High. And I'll see how that goes. But before I get to either of those things, I've got to start the lesson off with a little bit of nice warm-up, utilizing the Chapter 6 Technic Exercise 4 exercises from Opus 16. If any of that sounds more interesting or useful to you, then you can go ahead and skip to it using the timeline below. So let's get this thing started. Set tempo of 98 beats per minute. Getting a nice handy spat. Here we go. Starting the timer always helps. About 5 seconds left on that, so no point going any further. I felt pretty good. I've had a lot of really so-so days with that exercise, which, with how many times I've done it, uh, I feel like I ought to be at the point where I do it flawless every time without even thinking. But I do only spend 5 minutes on it every time, and I do mostly pretty well. So letting myself off the hook. Hooray. Part of the benefit and one of the most horrible detriments of not having an instructor. I get to hold my own standards. Boy howdy. All right. Blue Danube Waltz. So, if you weren't here for the last lesson, this really kicked my ass. It's a piece that is very familiar to most people. Let's see, starting down on C. It's that piece. You are most likely, almost guaranteedly familiar with it, but there's parts of it as I'm playing through, especially on the second page, that I don't have the memory. It sounds like it's a particular part of it, but there are bars and lines in this arrangement that don't sound like they belong in the part that I'm familiar with that it sounds like this is. Maybe it's because it's not that part. I'm not entirely sure. Maybe I'm playing them wrong and I'm just going to have to go through very slowly and I'll catch it eventually. But really throwing me for a loop, and definitely I'm going to have to break this down and do it bit by bit. So work on the first page and then, I don't know, maybe into the first line or so of the second page today, and I think that's all I'm going to be able to get done. And that might frustrate me enough that I just stop. So C, C, E, no, C, C, E, G, G, and then it's G and D. So that part's not so hard for the left hand. So that might be a good thing to do there. Getting ahead of myself, not following the plan. Now I've got a 5 on this C. All right, well, I didn't follow my plan at all. I didn't only focus on the first page. Mostly because the first page is not all that problematic. It's mostly the second page. So maybe in the next lesson I'll go ahead and spend my time making sure to put my focus on that instead. But not feeling particularly awful, so no reason to not go ahead and switch over and spend the last 10 minutes working to memorize my arrangement of Angels We Have Heard on High. Blank piece of paper. I find it more helpful to look at something. No tempo on this, not formally, but I am going to go ahead and switch so I can play in a more natural G position. All right, start the timer, and here we go. I don't think I've ever made that particular fuck up before. Interesting. I improved on some parts. I'm not as often going. What the hell was it even? So I'm doing that, and only I think once did I do the. Because I got so angry about it in the previous lesson that I remembered it this time, because I remembered how angry I was. Now it's just random places. I'm sure that there were some, if you look back, that some places were more often than others. But it really was kind of skewed all over the place. I think any patterns were just happenstance, honestly. But still needs more work. Still needs I don't yet feel like I could just trot it out at any time and just play it for anyone. The first time on the spot. I mean, I think in that whole 10 minutes, I maybe played it through more or less properly once. So, and I don't need to look at the score anymore, so that's something. But clearly still quite far away from what I need it to be. So, and Blue Danube Waltz is not quite so unworkable as it seemed in the last lesson, which is good because in the last lesson it looked just like absolute dog shit, but little bits started to come together. I could start seeing where maybe I can start working in some patterns or things like that, but I'll have to see if I can actually hold to the plan that I start off the lesson with, namely working basically exclusively on the second page for probably a good number of lessons, honestly. It's going to be a lot of just remembering little hand movements, little finger movements, like a lot of these pieces are. And how well I'm going to fare with that is just something I'm going to have to find out in the next lesson. So if you'd like to see what it took for me to get this far, then you can either click up here or the link in the description below to catch the entire series from the very beginning. And if you'd like to find out where I go from here, don't forget to... And if you'd like to find out where I go from here, then don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon so that you know when I upload next. Let's see what, if anything, I learn next time.